Hi, I'm Amanda Gomez, and I'm going to be talking about how I will be incorporating social media in my classroom. Although using social media in elementary schools is viewed negatively by many, studies suggest that social media sites such as Twitter have value educationally not just for older students, but for elementary students as well. Additionally, a teacher's effective use of Twitter in the classroom can help students gain the 21st century skills they may need. I plan on setting up a classroom Twitter page because Twitter is a social networking site I used across the world, and it is fairly easy to learn how to use. It's an easy tool to teach young students, and learning about the benefits of Twitter and all that it has to offer may benefit students as they get older. Before I share my classroom Twitter page with students, I plan on sending home consent forms so that families are not only aware of the classroom tool, but also consent that I may post their child's projects, assignments, and that they may also tweet and participate. All Twitter pages will be closely monitored. I also plan to possibly have set virtual office hours in which I will be available on Twitter to answer any questions regarding homework, class projects, or parent concerns. Furthermore, I plan on using Twitter to connect with other classrooms and teachers. We may compare, for example, how we are learning about compound words and share pictures of our different assignments or projects. The hashtag search allows for students to search for specific tweets related to certain topics. It helps students with research and forms connections. Lastly, Twitter gives students the opportunity to get to know their classmates and share their personal schoolwork. This really helps students develop collaboration skills. Here's an example of a class Twitter page in which Ms. W is sharing what her students are engaging in during the school day. Families and students have the opportunity to view class photos, share educational videos, interact with the teacher and classmates, and reflect on lesson material. How does Twitter support my students' learning? Twitter allows for students to communicate and collaborate. It forms a basis on communication so that classmates can have a written paper trail of what is being discussed. It makes it easier for classmates to discuss ideas and form connections. One major thing about children is that they often only have access to information that is filtered through an adult channel. Although that is often appropriate, kids also need the model of their peers as information providers. They need to develop leadership skills. Next, Twitter obviously helps support the students' reading and writing skills. Having a limited amount of space forces students to use strong words and simple sentences. Again, the hashtag search engine on Twitter allows students to work on developing research skills, to brainstorm, and to form connections with others. With Twitter, students, families, and teachers may always tweet live questions that can quickly be answered by others. This ultimately extends the classroom. In my elementary classroom, I plan on incorporating a poetry project with the help of Twitter and the option of also using KidBlog. KidBlog is a social media networking site in which students may post blogs directly to a classroom blog site created by the teacher. The purpose of the poetry project is to expose my students to different types of poetry. First, students will search for and discover a famous poem or poet on Twitter and share with classmates the poem, a related article, or tweet. Students will share with peers the significance of that poet or poem. Why did they like that poem? What is special about the poem or poet? Next, students will write a poem of their own using KidBlog or solely Twitter and share it on our classroom Twitter page. Then, students will comment on at least 3 classmates' work. How do you interpret the poem? Finally, students will briefly reflect and share what was learned by tweeting the classroom Twitter page. Here is an example of a student finding the poet Gwendolyn Brooks on Twitter along with her poem titled We Real Cool. This is something that students can share and discuss by tagging our classroom Twitter page. Here is an example of the KidBlog that I set up for my future classroom. Students will enter the Miss Gomez's class page and create a post that demonstrates their poetry. Students will then share their work by copying the link to Twitter and tagging our classroom Twitter page. This is my classroom Twitter page. Here I am reminding the students to share their limerick poems by Friday. How does Twitter support the final product? Overall, Twitter helps students to develop a voice and learn to work with others. Students will have the ability to immediately have communication with all of their classmates as well as their teacher, even after they leave the classroom. Social media is becoming more of a norm in our society, and it's our jobs as teachers to prepare students so that they can keep up. Furthermore, Twitter gives opportunity for students to become mini researchers and investigators. Because social media is accessible to all, it is important that we teach students to research findings in order to understand what is accurate. Research skills definitely become more developed after using Twitter. Lastly, Twitter provides a trail for students to look back on and really notice areas of improvement. They can share their progress with families and can come to understand self-growth in the classroom. Here is the last example of searching for acrostic poems using Twitter and tweeting my own poem. Here are my references. The last one is a reference for a photograph that I used. All other photos were my own. Thanks for watching.